that there's 2 rail lines going through the county, which means in terms of remote working, as was mentioned earlier, it makes Roscommon hopefully a very attractive place to benefit from post-COVID era. There's just over 64,000 people living here. But another part of that, which we consider very important in terms of our heritage, is the global Rossi family. So as a regeneration unit, we put a huge emphasis into our global Rossi strategy. And from that, we know that there's 945,000 people of Roscommon connection around the world. And I'll come back to that at the end as to how we see that featuring into the whole regeneration. Just focusing in then on Roscommon town itself, it's very compact, and I'll cover that in detail. We would consider that it's very heritage rich, and any of you who have ever been to the town will know that we're very fortunate in the buildings, etc., that we have. Again, its location, natural environment with parks right on the edge, as well as within a 5-kilometre radius. We have a very positive town team and Chamber of Commerce and Heritage Group. All 3 have been absolutely integral to what we've been doing as a local authority here over the last number of years. We're again fortunate that a lot of our heritage buildings very well maintained, monuments, and the local knowledge where whenever we need, the local heritage group is on board with us to do walks throughout the town. They've also developed an app, which I'll mention later on. Population is quite small for a county town. It's under 6,000. With a labour catchment of over 7,000, but we very much see that our location and everything we're doing in terms of regenerating, not just Roscommon town, but our other towns in the county, will hopefully lead to boundless possibilities post-COVID. I come from a rural development background, so for me, I think this is a huge opportunity in this era to make sure that rural Ireland proves that we can live here, we can work here, and the towns like Roscommon are the ideal place to be based from. There's a very strong service and public sector employment here, as well as a retail base, which draws in people from the wider counties around us, because every food retail that you possibly could want is in the town. And again, the final thing would be in terms of agriculture. We're very proud of our links to agriculture. And it is a very strong influence within the town and plays a central role. So the first step as a regeneration unit was for us to work with an architect's firm in terms of developing a strategic vision for a vibrant, livable town. So we looked at what there is to do. So history and heritage is strong, sports is strong, very, very strong in terms of a 14-acre site in Loughnane Park, literally 2 minutes from the town centre. And Moat Park, which is hundreds of acres, is only 5 kilometres away. Community events and festivals, hopefully with our work that we've been doing in the town centre and post-COVID era, you know, again, our chamber, our town team, etc., are ready and willing to make the move to bring back our events. Accessibility, I won't go back into that, just again to say the rail links, our close connections now to a number of greenways coming to the edge, again, all help. Services and living, we're very fortunate. We've a lot of very traditional owned family businesses and cafes, restaurants, etc. within the town. Strong healthcare. It's the administrative centre for the county. Good quality, affordable housing and schools at all levels, including a Gael Squel and special needs schools. So just to give you a sense of some of the heritage buildings, so there's been monastic sites in Roscommon dating back to the 6th century. Roscommon Castle, which is located within Loughnane Park, or maybe I should say it the other way around, Loughnane Park is located beside the castle, which dates back to 1269. It was occupied up until the 17th century, and it was interesting, Valerie mentioned some of this in her presentation there now. We would actually say that the castle remains occupied to the current day. Just for Culture Night recently, we had a fabulous music and lighting display within the castle grounds, and there's just, if anybody wants to look it up, there's some fabulous images. It's used on a daily basis in terms of people walking, going in, exploring it, for picnics, and We've also got funding through Town and Village in terms of lighting it up so that more people know about it, because people pass through the town and probably don't know it exists. The Roscommon Dominican Priory dates back to the mid-13th century and is at the other end of the town. Within the town square itself, focusing first on the Harrison Hall, and interesting looking again at Valerie's presentation there in terms of Lisburn and Coleraine in particular. This is right in the centre of our town square. Fabulous building, has had lots of uses, everything from a church to a dance hall to currently being the base for the Bank of Ireland. And the Bank of Ireland have worked with us in terms of improving the surrounds as part of our overall project. The old jail in the background there was a place of incarceration, and it's famous because it was the base of the only female hanged woman in Ireland. So we sometimes say to people, be very careful what you say to Roscommon women, you don't know what's going to happen next. So just going on to the regeneration unit itself, I suppose our ethos is people come where people are. We're all about, everything we do is about trying to get people back using our town centres. So we've a lot of work going on in different towns, and today focusing in on Roscommon. We know that people prefer to walk on lively streets, that if you have activities within the town, people are more likely to come in. So it could be just simply an artist doing a drawing. And one of the things we have coming up is Joe Caslin mural within the town. He's from Roscommon, but an nationally known artist. Even simply as the works have been ongoing on the street excavations, whenever the workmen are actually there, we find that people tend to stop, ask, find out what's going on. So all of this is about bringing people into the centre of our town to explore the heritage. And as I've mentioned earlier, the town team have developed an interactive app. All you need is a mobile phone with a QR reader and a love of heritage. Currently, if you come to Roscommon, it looks like this, which maybe is not the most attractive, but hopefully by the first or second week in December, all of this work will be finished with fabulous, high quality granite paving. And again, going back to Valerie's presentation where she mentioned paving, wall to wall, which will help celebrate these fantastic buildings. This is the post office here in the red brick building. This is one side of the Harrison Hall, but equally here, Regan's fabulous looking building when you're standing here, and you don't probably appreciate it when all the cars are parked here. We would have gone through a challenging process in order to remove these, but I think now most of the people who would have been negative towards it are really looking forward and very happy with the progress of these works, which started in March with a completion date of hopefully December. So again, why did we do it? We did it to cherish our heritage where the town started, to reverse the hollowing out that previous speakers have mentioned in terms of population, footfall and private investment, to create a more attractive alternative to the fringe areas, and to reduce the need to travel and improve people's quality of life. So what will be the end result? This is Santi arriving in December. So even before our project, people took over the streets. We feel with the work we've now done, people will take over the streets more and appreciate everything about the town centre. So it'll be a place to meet, eat and celebrate. We're very ambitious here. And O'Connor, Cork probably think it's more for them, but Roscommon think we'll probably get the All-Ireland before you. So we'll be celebrating it here. A market area with potential for use as an open air events and festival space. And the next step of this project is to maybe have a covered space on one side of the square so that the markets, obviously, unfortunately, we don't have the weather of Italy or Portugal. So taking that into account, but not detracting from the beautiful buildings that frame the square. A spill out area for the coffee shops and restaurants, enhanced linkages between the car parks and the town centre, and a wayfinding strategy. Roscommon is very lucky. We do have very good car parks to the back of both sides of our main street, but we will openly admit that the wayfinding strategy leaves a lot to be desired, and it's something that's very much part of this project. We just had some very interesting finds, and again, it was mentioned there in terms of the town walls. So in two locations, parts of the original town wall of the town were found. Roscommon never appeared to have a fully enclosed town wall, but there was a number of locations where there was a town wall. One at near the AIB Bank, Donlands, if any of you are familiar with the town, was possibly also a jail, because some of the documents would refer to the old jail, and this is back in the 1700s when the actual jail was just new. So potentially it served as a jail, but it was considered to have been, I suppose, a separation between the English part of the town in terms of the castle and the Gaelic part of the town where the abbey, etc., was located. So this being careful work to ensure there's no damage done to these, and AMS or our archaeologists on site, and we are capturing in terms of video footage and information boards the information so that it will not be lost as the project progresses. Just in the last week, we have found a second well. We had a well beside the old jail, and now one is in front of the Bank of Ireland facing Main Street. This particular well, we are hoping as part of the next part of our project to incorporate in terms of the sculptural architectural piece that we're going to include in the square. It's 14 meters deep with 3 meters of water underneath. Very, very detailed construction. And just again in the library, just some information there that we gathered about it in terms of families had to pay a penny a week to get water. Somebody was paid to literally be here to provide the water. It was the only clean source of water in the town. So moving on to outdoor recreation, this has become huge with COVID. And as I mentioned, this is the park with the castle as the background. Loch Nanan means Lake of the Birds. So the nature chair is to celebrate the whole nature heritage of this park, whereas Queen Maeve, Cuchulainn, the O'Connors, there's various sculpture trail developed to recognise that aspect of our heritage. We've also put in an amphitheatre so that events can be held here and again get greater use out of this fantastic heritage outdoor space that we have. All of this has been achieved under Town and Village and Outdoor Recreation by the Department of Community and Rural Development. Moat Park is another park with huge historical background to it, which is just 5 kilometres out the road. And we're also developing something similar there, but including a viewing tower, a sensory heritage trail and parking, etc. So the town just has an abundance of outdoor assets. The current project that is in design phase, our design consultants are on board in the last number of months, and initial consultations actually took place with our councillors, town team, etc. this week. And it's called Putting the Spokes Back into the Hub. It's a €12.3 million project funded under URDF. And it came about because the architect that was then part of the team, Emmett Humphreys, when he was getting his car fixed by a Brazilian mechanic living in the town, he told him he loved Roscommon. It's a 5-minute town. It's 5 minutes to the shops, to the school, to the soccer pitch, to work. Everything is 5 minutes away. So thinking about that, and my job is generally to write the bids, I kind of thought, okay, this needs to change. It needs to change to being a 10 to 15-minute walking town instead. So again, just to give you a sense, this town is unbelievably compact as a county town. Retail parks here, literally no distance. Everything that I've just covered in terms of the historic town centre, the old jail, Harrison Hall right in the centre, Abbey Street and Church Street, historical churches. I'll be covering that on the historic towns, the Dominican Priory, the castle and industrial parks. And we always bring football into it, but just Dr. Hyde Park is on the outskirts of the town. But even from when you're in Hyde Park, you can see the top of the Harrison Hall or the Bank of Ireland. Again, the hospital is right beside Dr. Hyde Park. The Arts Centre is on the approach road. So everything is so, so close. But we need to make sure people realise that. Ireland Project 2040 is the impetus behind everything we do. because it's great to have ideas and plans, but unless you have the money to do it, nothing really happens. So compact and sustainable growth, about getting it back into the town centre. Placemaking is huge for us. Deliver highly connected town centres, permeability and legibility, enticing people to come in with higher levels of pedestrian interaction, sustainable mobility. Amenity, enhanced amenity and heritage, we have it in abundance, so we need to celebrate it and showcase it. And a transition to the low carbon and climate resilient society. As I'll show as I go through this project, we're very much focusing on walking and cycling as a key element for our town. So we want people to join in, as I said earlier. People come where people are. So that what prevents people from doing this? It's a distance. I've already shown you distance isn't an issue in our case, but there is the issue of perceived distance. People think it's further. Route quality and how you travel. So just currently, this is the situation. Many of you may have travelled on what's the circular road around Roscommon, possibly stopped here at Casey's Supermax. And this is your only impression of the town. But what you don't realise is, again, pointing here, this is the top of the Harrison Hall. You are literally only a couple of minutes from the town centre. So it's making sure that this is a lot more attractive to get people to stop in the first place and then get them up here. These are the approach roads as current approach spokes to the town. None of them are very attractive. Any of you who've worked with Purple Flag in other towns would know that safety and lighting, a sense of feeling safe are absolutely critical in encouraging people to come through. All of these laneways are part of our wheel and spoke approach, will be enhanced, will be made much more attractive. We're also looking at the Melbourne laneway model that we may introduce into some of our laneways in Roscommon. So keep an eye out for those. If you've only travelled around the circular road and you're not familiar with Roscommon town, just want to draw your attention to what you're missing out. Some fabulous traditional shops. We all can go to shopping centres. They're all much for much. This is the type of quality of town centre shopping that we have. Some of the monuments that have been carefully restored and interpreted. The sheep, as I say, is very synonymous with Roscommon, and we're proud of our agricultural connections. The Roscommon Town Museum is right in the square. So moving, I suppose, more to the mapping side of it, this is our wheel and spoke approach mapping. So this purple area is what's currently nearing completion from Main Street up into the town square. These are the spokes. This is coming along the circular road. It's about getting people to stop and move into the town centre, whether it's just to shop, to visit, to live, whatever. So the first spoke is the circular road that I keep referring to. It's where our arts centre is, where our fire station is, where the mart is, and where the majority of the traffic comes into the town on the N61. So we want to transform this grey, bleak area into a green linear park, so that this is your first impression. You might want to stop. If we can get you to stop, then it's about getting you to come and explore the town. So create opportunities for high quality housing and remote working. We have a number of brownfield sites here that we will be looking and working with the owners. So the works we will do will enable a lot more possibility in terms of investment. The enhanced pedestrian routes that I just covered in terms of some of the photographs, and upgrading the existing car park. There is a car park in where Tesco's and SuperValu is. It is literally a car park. We want to turn it into a square which happens to have parking and which directs the pedestrian through it. Activating the backlands of Main Street. We did have a challenge in the sense that you were wondering, why aren't we a bit nearer to Main Street? We did encounter some difficulties in terms of owners. Most owners were in favour, but one or two were not. So we moved the project initially now back further to the west backlands of the town. So this is where Loch Nanan Park is in the castle. So it's again about creating improved public realm, about walking, cycling. We have a lot of recreational facilities here and schools. So again, it's about enhancing this whole area and continuously drawing you into the town centre. The third spoke is Henry Street and Church Street, and that's where our Historic Towns Initiative is. So again, we have some brownfield sites here, and it's likely we're looking at changing this to a one-way system, which will make it much more attractive, and it'll create the possibility of pedestrian and cycle links, because you're coming down here to the Dominican Priory, to the Abbey Hotel, etc. There'll be a number of pocket park enhancements along the way to draw people in, to get them to stop and just enjoy being part of the town and the life of the town. The final element of the URDF project, Wheel and Spoke, is the circular route around the town. This is another entrance into Roscommon Castle off Castle Street. But the whole idea of the loop, the rim, the wheel rim, is a full cycle link around the town. It is going to be challenging. It is going to take us 4 to 5 years. Some of it will be done under each of these spokes. But it will be all about linking local housing, schools, churches, heritage, recreation, and civic buildings. And going back to what our first speaker mentioned, the whole 10 to 15-minute town. The next one is moving on to the Historic Towns Initiative. And thankfully, Ian and his team have stuck with us. We're in the 3rd year of doing it. We did it initially on a street in Boyle beside King House. And now we've moved to Church Street, Abbey Street, and Gough Street. So Church Street is the nearest town linking, the nearest street to Main Street. I would have described it at times as looking a little bit like Beirut after being bombed. It's just very, very derelict. So it was a huge opportunity to get the HTI. We had funding of just under 200,000. But the difference it made and the reaction locally has been absolutely massive. Cannot stress enough the difference it's made. This is a designated ACA area with a number of buildings on the NIAH or protected structures. Primarily 2-story terraces with residences over commercial premises are now fully residential. And even since we've done this, we've had a number of new buildings open on the street. There is a high residential and commercial vacancy on the street, but that is changing, and a number of the properties have changed hands even since last year as a result of the works. Just the HTI, Historic Towns Initiative, for those of you not familiar, the objectives are to reduce the number of vacant properties, to retain the unique heritage aspect of these important streets, create a desirable place to live, visit, and do business, increase visitor numbers and dwell time. All of these are being realised. In terms of the eligible works, it's repair and upgrade of street-facing external facades. Can be challenging with owners, they'd like it all to be done, but it is street-facing. Preventative maintenance is the key, so it's minor works, but they can make a difference. So it's in terms of slip slates, replacement of gutters, to cast iron gutters, chimneys where there's cracks or what we can do, external improvements in say blown plaster, windows and shop fronts. I'll give you an example of the difference it has made to some of the windows, the original windows. It's absolutely unreal, the difference. Visual improvements to the exterior of the buildings, painting of rendered facades, joinery and ironwork, and removal of redundant cables. So this is the corner of Church Street and Henry Street. This was it before the Historic Towns Initiative. This used to be a factory shop. It was a jewellery shop, etc. in the past, really run down, very visual from Main Street, but no ways would you be enticed up. As you continue up this street, you're at the Roscommon County Council offices and the courthouse. So it's a key link street. This is the difference. We literally had people from our diaspora all over the world commenting on it, because we did a video of it. Well, I'll share the link at the end. And again, people telling stories of growing up there, the various uses of the buildings. Preserving our protected structures. So this is the difference, the careful cleaning and maintenance, preventative maintenance of what was previously our motor tax office, and previous to that, a bank and bank residence. So this has really increased the lifespan of this building, and we're currently exploring potential usages of it. I think it was Valerie mentioned windows in the background there of Connor. This is the difference. These are still the same windows, but this is what has happened in terms of doing very highly skilled splice repairs. Equally, a building on the corner of Church Street and Abbey Street, the doors, this is a metal frame literally put up to keep the door intact. This is it after our contractor, who was absolutely brilliant, had done the work on it. I haven't a direct example of the door, but just to say this was the high quality finish that we got on all the doors. None of the doors were replaced. It's the original doors with splice repairs. And in conclusion, I'm just going to focus in on what's behind me as well. We did what we call Roscommon bound Global ROSI strategy. I think it's 2 years ago now, and we have the Minister for Finance, whose mother is from the county, down to launch it. And we also did a Global ROSI Day. As I said, nearly 1 million people are proud to say they have Roscommon roots from around the world. It was huge during COVID for us. So everything we do under this, and we do a passport for our Leaving Cert students, a Roscommon passport, which you might be able to make out in the photograph. It's about reconnecting, whether you're first, second, third generation Roscommon. Share and promote everything that's wonderful about our county. Invest in your hometown with contacts, finance, whatever. Stay connected. We want to keep the heritage that people have built up. And just to say, this is the video I mentioned earlier on the Historic Towns Initiative in 2020. And we're currently working on our 2021 project, and we'll have a video on that available at the end of the year. This is the app for the town team developed, and we have videos from AMS on the archaeology finds in the square, and they'll be available in 2022 on either Roscommon Bound or roscommoncoco.ie. And just to say thank you very much for getting the opportunity to showcase what we're doing in Roscommon.